Welcome to my channel, Sarah Kuro Interviews. I have someone who was very inspiring to me as a teenager here with me. He's all the way in Brisbane. I'm in freezing Melbourne. And this is Craig Allister Young. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I thought I'd better be in my kitchen because I do a lot of cooking. So
yes, we'll talk about all of the amazing things that you do. Cooking is definitely in the top 3 things that you do. Now, people who know you as a cellist.
Yeah.
Like those closest to you know you as a cellist. And I know you as a cellist because when I was a teenager, I witnessed the most beautiful solo playing from you when I was in Queensland Youth Orchestra. You played Bloch's Shlomo, wasn't it?
Yes.
On our tour. Was it the tour, Pacific Rim tour, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Japan, China, Hong Kong.
America, USA.
Yeah.
It was so profound. On the same tour, we had Graham Jennings playing Tchaikovsky, I think.
That's right.
And oh my God. And I was, 15 or whatever I was. And I just couldn't believe how amazing you were, how amazing you are. And then you started doing crazy things like making a barber-shop quartet called the Clefhangers, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, why can't you just be satisfied playing the cello like a goddamn soloist? I mean, what is it about you that makes you want to do even more than that?
Well, I had to have this conversation with your gorgeous father many times. He used to say that to me all the time. And my answer was just, basically I used to say, well, John, I love doing all sorts of things. Why would I only want to do one? And to be quite honest with you, I'm really glad I didn't go down that route because, I still do like people a little bit. And I think, as a soloist, it's a very solitary thing to do and so much pressure. I mean, I think the soloists that I am so impressed with are people who've actually gone outside of their genre. People like Simon Tedeschi, who's amazing. He came into the concert with us, played this beautiful, I think it was Mozart or something. I wasn't playing it. And then he broke into a bit of Mozart, finishing it in jazz. And I was just like, oh my God, I just love that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I suppose I've also come from a background where Dad was a conductor and an orchestrator and an arranger, and I sort of started doing all that stuff anyway. And I always, basically, if any event comes up, I go, well, what do I need to do? Do I need to write something? Do I need to arrange something? Do I need to make a new frock? It comes down to whatever needs to be done, I just do it. And it's, to be quite honest with you, often it comes down to money. It comes down to budget. I suppose when you grow up and you're trying to make a name for yourself, you're often doing things really on the cheap. And so to be able to go, well, I can write the script and the music and the arrangements, and yes, okay, Mum taught me to sew, so I can now make the costume. It was literally just what I had to do. So, and I've always been the sort of person that I never looked for an excuse why I couldn't do something. I always looked for the reason why I actually could do it. So.
Fantastic. So you're basically saying you're just born multi-talented and born an optimist. My goodness me, if only we could all be like that. But I feel the same way. I feel like if something amazing could be done, then do it. What's stopping you? And usually people do get stopped by not having any money. So let's talk about the fact that you have a job as a musician, a full-time job, just like me.
Yeah.
We have holiday pay. We have we're a tenured position. We have super. We have sick leave. So we're in the luxurious position for musicians, for classical musicians, to still have a job, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
So that's an extraordinary opportunity we have to explore our outside passions and turn them into something really special. But please go back to when I was a teenager and you had this 4-part vocal group called the Clefhangers. You guys were perfect. It was like Manhattan Transfer, if anyone out there remembers Manhattan Transfer.
We used to sing Manhattan Transfer numbers.
I remember. And there was
a soprano.
Yeah, that's right. And that song, I don't know if the title is correct, but Cat Fell in the Well. Do you remember that song, which was absolutely filthy? And I tried to, I loved it so much. It was hilarious. It was all about the cat falling in the well, but it had all those double sexual innuendos.
Pussy, something rather about that.
Yeah. So there were these really filthy lines in it.
God, that's bizarre. I haven't thought about the song for years. I couldn't even remember vaguely do. I think we might have had to pick our audiences when we did that.
Absolutely, you did, because what I ended up doing so stupidly, I got the arrangement from you and I made my vocal quartet at school, which I formed because I was so inspired by you. We sung, like madrigals from hundreds of years ago, but we also sung some Manhattan Transfer songs, just like you did. And anyway, this song had the most filthy lines in it, but I asked the Year 12 coordinator if maybe we could sing at the assembly. And she said, oh, wonderful, what will you sing? And I said, oh, well, it's this Manhattan Transfer song, Cat Fell in the Well. And she said, maybe we could look through the lyrics before you do that. And so I stupidly thought that the teachers wouldn't get it. Anyway, everyone, you have to look up Cat Fell in the Well, filthy lyrics. Anyway,
They're not actually filthy, though. I mean, they're not actually. It's double entendre, isn't it? I mean, it's not really filthy. Maybe for a school audience it is. But, I mean, one of the things we did in Clefhangers was that most of our audiences were busking audiences, and you can't be rude there or you'd be shut down. Old people, we did a lot of stuff for, older audiences because the type of music we were doing tended to be jazz and stuff and comedy. So you can get away with a little bit more. It's
risque. The lyrics are risque, but one particular lyric is, I got out a ladder and I climbed down to my pet. I saw in a jiffy that my puss was soaking
Oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that.
Okay, and I took these lyrics to the Year 12 coordinator of All Hallows School, which is a strict Catholic girls' school. I got called into the principal's office. I got into so much trouble. It was just outrageous. So thanks for that.
I wish I'd known. Would have loved to been a fly on the wall then.
Oh, those songs you sang were so world-class standard. I was sitting in those rooms listening to your concerts going, what? And that wasn't enough for you, obviously. So you had to write your own music.
The funny thing about that group was that actually came out of another group. When I was at the con, you know how we always had to do chamber music as a DGA, directed group activity.
Yep.
And I was sick and tired of. I was playing in quartets and trios and all this stuff anyway. And I said, oh well, why can't I do a vocal ensemble? And we had this vocal ensemble. It actually had SIRI, Karen Jacobson, who's the voice of SIRI in Australia, who was in the jazz course at the con, and a friend of mine. And so it was her, Jason Barry Smith, a few other people, 6-part group, and we sang a whole lot of stuff. And we did madrigals and we did jazz stuff. And all sorts
standard stuff,
And then we were doing a concert, and it was going to be the first time that the students had been allowed to put on a concert in the hall without the lecturers and whatever
approving it.
So we put on this concert. And I just said to a couple of my mates, I said, oh, great, you're great to have a 4-part group. Let's do that. And I said to them, okay, but once we do that, that's all we're going to do. And then I don't want this to take over my life and stuff. It got into the concert, took over my life completely. But for the next 8 years, we literally did stuff everywhere, including, down in Hobart at West Point Casino and all sorts of stuff. So it was amazing. And we did actually do a performance, I keep forgetting it's a COVID year, 2 years ago at my last Brisbane Sings concert, which is a master choir concert that I'm musical director for. And we got together for that. And we did a couple of songs there. But the funny thing was, I used to sing all the really, really high Bee Gees stuff.
Can you still?
And no.
Oh, no.
Gone completely. Because it's a falsetto, it's a part of the vocal cords that I just stopped using. And they apparently got thicker and they just won't vibrate. So I was trying to get these notes in and nothing was happening.
No.
So it had to do a little bit of rewriting.
A little bit of put it down a few tones.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh,
I
God.
had to fake it a bit, but yeah.
Oh, that's just awful. So I guess what an outsider might ask is, you've done arrangements, you've written your own music. Have you ever tried to write serious classical music? It's not a question I would ask because I don't really care about that as much as I do this fantastic stuff that you've already done. But have you ever tried to write like a symphony or a solo cello piece or fantasia or something like that?
Yeah, mostly small things. I wrote, for instance, when one of the guys from the Clefhangers had his first child, I wrote a piece called Lullaby for a Newborn Child. And it was for cello, orchestra and oboe, I think. I can't remember. And we performed that in QPO when I was in QPO and in an audience. And so I did write stuff. For me, though, it was always very much about writing what I wanted to hear. So I don't mind listening to really avant-garde stuff. I don't like playing it as much. It's just too hard.
Definitely.
I just don't know the notes. They're just too many.
Can't be bothered.
I actually don't mind listening to it so much, but when I want to play something, I want to write from my experience, and it changes all the time. So yes, I do write also. I suppose the most serious thing you could hear is on my YouTube channel is a piece that we did right at the beginning of COVID called Controlled Chaos. Now, it was written for education concerts for little kids, and it was supposed to be, I was told, had to be 3 minutes long, had to show off all the instruments and lots of stuff. But it is in a modern classical language. So that's the closest I get.
Okay, what would you compare that piece to in terms of what would it sound like? If I know that's not fair to ask, but
it's
what
hard.
is it like? Bartok? Is it like Hindemith? Is it like
No, it's quite quirky. I suppose if you look at maybe Prokofiev and his really quirky stuff.
Yeah, got it.
Whereas the chords I use a lot of quartal harmony, and I use a lot of wrong note harmony and that sort of stuff. But I mean, the kids had to be able to listen to it and go, "Oh, that was fun."
Yeah. What the hell was that?
Playing.
Yeah.
So it had these 3 chords, ba ba, or 4 chords, ba 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 ba, ba ba ba. So it was very loud, it was bright.
Yeah, and rhythmic and
oboes would come out, bassoons would come out. Everyone got to go.
Yeah.
And 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
It was a great one for kids because they can, attention spans and everything. So
totally.
That's the sort of stuff I like writing. I mean, I suppose my writing has always been whatever I'm asked to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of lucky that because I started off very early getting into jazz styles and musical theatre. I love musical theatre. I wrote a musical, when I was in 1993. So, I've always loved those styles. And I think also one of the biggest things for me is I love telling a story. So I did lots of kids music, which would I've got a version of, it's sort of like an Australian version of Peter and the Wolf called Kevin, which is literally got a narrator through it, just like Peter and the Wolf has. And that sort of stuff is the stuff I gravitated towards because I did like actually going, well, you don't have to just sit and listen. I'm gonna take you on a journey. Yeah. So that's just what I do. Yeah.
And when you said wrong note harmony, is that a thing? Are you saying that you're writing in traditional chord progressions but adding a lot of so-called wrong notes?
Yes. I mean, I use that expression because I do. Another thing I'm doing at the moment is QSO has a thing called Compose, and this is the 3rd year we've done it, sort of spread out a bit, where we go into high schools and we get kids to write music, and QSO will then play them.
Wow.
So this particular, we did it 2 years ago, where they actually had to write for double wind full orchestra. Absolutely blew my mind, amazing, and blew their minds. These kids sitting there listening to music played by a professional orchestra, it never happens. I don't know whatever happens in other orchestras, but it's pretty amazing. This year, they're sort of doing it in a slightly different way. They're getting some kids to write for wind quintet, some to write for string quintet. And the interesting thing about the way kids write, they're not taught a lot of harmony, I don't think.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
So it tends to be resultant harmony. So they'll write a couple of lines, and whatever the harmony is resulting in those lines is what their harmony is. So I try to get them to think outside the box. If they're writing in a very sort of tonal way, to go, right, well, you've got a beautiful C major chord there. Well, put an F sharp in there. It's the wrong note in the chord, but you space it out, you do something, you can do that. I mean, my favourite chord, it always will be, I don't know why, is a major 7th chord.
Yeah, I know. I hear that in the last chord of your YouTube.
Yeah, exactly, with a B flat in it and a B natural. Or an E flat and an E natural. So it's a major minor 7.
You love music theatre, and so that obviously brings me to, you're drawn to a more American style way of writing rather than an old European atonal post-Schoenberg sort of way of writing. No. I mean, that's all very well. Like you say, you'd probably rather sit in the audience and go, ooh, that was interesting. But for the purposes of the reason you want to write music is not to interest people, it's to entertain people.
Well, can I ask you, when was the last time you actually sat and watched a full concert?
I do go to concerts. I'm the wrong musician to ask that question. Okay. I know what you're saying, but why I go to concerts is, if I can go to concerts, I'll go to support people like you
yeah,
in my
sure.
life
Yeah,
who are putting something on.
Yeah.
And I'm often amazed at the standard, amazed. Like some of the stuff I hear is absolutely world class. And also MSO puts, Melbourne Symphony Orchestra puts a lot of things on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm more likely to watch the more modern things, like my friend programmed Last Leaf, which was by the Danish string quartet, first violin player, all about these ancient Scandinavian folk tunes arranged for string quartet and double bass. My God, it was just like earth-shatteringly beautiful. And when you have to wade through a whole lot of 60s style experimental weirdness, that's not what I'm interested in. That's gone. That era's gone, actually. And if anyone tries to write like that, I don't really appreciate it as much as I do someone like you who's trying to write something meaningful and beautiful and entertaining. And I just don't think there's anything wrong with writing music that's entertaining.
Oh, absolutely
It doesn't have to be profoundly earth-shatteringly original. Not interested.
I think the interesting thing is every type of music interests every type of person. Yeah. So, you know, if you listen to the last thing I put up on my channel, now it's a comedy song, unashamedly, bit of a piss take comedy song. But I've had some people who've just been coming to me and going, I was blown away by that. I was amazed to hear all the cellos and to hear this and to hear that and whatever.
This is a sensational song. Let's talk about this right now. This is called Nothing.
Nothing.
And the lyrics basically circle around, I wrote a song about nothing. I wrote a song about nothing. And it's so apt at the moment because, as you say in the song, everyone has so much to say all the time. There's so much traffic on the internet. Blah, blah, blah. There's so much news. There's so much of this stuff. And you're just writing this song, which just, as you say, takes the piss out of everything. So look up musical menus on YouTube, everyone. I'm going to put the link in the description. Musical menus. This is Craig Allister Young's. Well, it's not a new channel, is it? You've already got 30. No,
we started beginning of, well, basically, we were sort of just the Christmas before COVID. We thought, oh, why don't we do some cooking videos? I've been wanting to do them for years, and I thought, look, if I don't do them now, I won't. And I had this brilliant idea. Oh my God, this idea was so good. I was going to get every single video, was going to have one of my colleagues in it. We were going to sit here, we were going to cook together, and we were going to play a piece, and it was going to be brilliant. And then COVID hit.
Oh my God.
And the choice was, well, just don't do it, put it off, or just do it without the
music
extra
part.
people.
Yeah.
As things went on, I was able to start introducing a few people. And then I also got approached by someone to do some live, Facebook Live kids cooking things, which we did as well. And I actually then did get a few kids, and mostly the children of my colleagues.
Yeah.
And we played a bit of music, and we sort of had a bit of fun doing it. But it was also for me a way of learning how to use the software, the video editing software, because I didn't want it just to be one camera sitting there. It had to be something in it. So wrote my own theme music, of course, as you do. Recorded my own theme music. And then it just sort of went from there. I mean, we didn't get heaps and millions of people looking at it, but it really kept us busy during COVID. And I think everyone needed that outlet. And also my husband is about to start a course at SIRI doing film and television. So it was a great way for both of us, for him to use that side of what he will eventually start doing, and for me to use my side. And I think that we talked about creativity and the need to be creative. And I think I don't see creativity stopping at what you're professional at. I mean, I've never been a trained cook, but I actually find the same level of creativity in my cooking that I do in my writing or my playing. Because when you think about it, cooking does the same thing as music. You're presenting something to someone and they're going, yes, I like that. Thank you. I feel good now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Music is exactly the same.
This is beautiful. You're changing someone's life for the better through music, through cooking, through these comedy videos. Absolutely. Let's. I forgot to mention to everyone out there that you were actually on Masterchef in 2011.
10 years ago.
How far did you get?
I got to number 13, so about halfway through.
Wow.
I was very pleased that I was actually the first person to get an apron that year. We did a challenge with Maggie beer. In fact, you can see it on Template. It's back on Template, our season now, with Maggie beer. We had to cook all the stuff. It was all baking and bits of cakes and tarts and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, Oh, yeah. I bake. I've made lemon curd. I've made this. I've made sabayon. I've made all this sort of stuff. So for me, it was hard challenge because of the time, and we had to share an oven. I had to share an oven with someone who had never baked a cake in his life. Kept opening the oven. Stop opening the oven! You're letting the hot heat. It was like, come on.
God.
Anyway, that was fine. I presented my stuff there, and she came forward and tasted it all, and then they went back and conferred, and then she came and said, right, you're getting an apron now. And so she put it straight on my head. And the most special thing about it was that as she did this, Maggie's gorgeous. I've met her a few times since.
Maggie!
Amazing. She actually said to me, she said, I'm going to see the Berlin Philharmonic Cellist at the Opera House tonight. I'm like, you kidding me? I'm stuck in this hotel and the Berlin Philharmonic Cellist. So, yeah, it was pretty special.
Oh, wow. Maggie, you met Maggie. So you've sung with the voice of SIRI. You've met Maggie Beer. You've been on Masterchef. You've got your own YouTube channel. I just don't think life should give you any more. I think you've had just about enough success. What more do you want? What more do you want?
Oh, well, I've got quite a few projects on the go. So last year, during COVID, I mean, I'm sure the same thing happened with governments in every other state, but the Queensland government went, great, we'll give some money out to help people develop musical ideas and artistic ideas with digital technology. And so this computer, I'm looking at you on, I got a friend of mine who I'm helping write a musical for a Broadway, helping her arrange the music she's done, put in this grant for me and got this computer.
Unbelievable.
I now have to go off and do this project, recording about 10 or 12 different choirs in Brisbane and making videos.
Wow.
So that'll happen, and they'll be on the YouTube channel later. So yeah, I mean, it's just, and I started working on this musical with her, and then I started going, wait a minute, I've got a musical I've been writing.
Yes.
And then I started working on that too, and then in fact one of the songs from that will be coming out in a couple of months. It's called Stupidity is Catching.
Awesome.
About misinformation.
I've got a question for you about the multitude of ideas that you have. People like you tend to not finish things, but I've noticed that you finish things. You have a lot of ideas, but you finish things. So
finish some things.
Well, but you finish some things.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, especially close to me, who enjoy so much the feeling, the psychology of beginning an idea and beginning it in reality too. Yeah. But then they get tired of that, and the completion of it's really too difficult, and they just start another idea. But you seem to be more practical. Where do you think that comes from? The practicality?
Well, probably, I mean, a lot of it probably comes from the work ethic I've inherited from my parents. I mean, my dad, for years, he was working as a musicologist, and he did a couple of projects where he had to take an opera of Donizetti that hadn't been performed literally since Donizetti was alive, and he had to do performance editions from the handwritten score. Now, that's a huge...
Oh my God, I know.
...back to them so they could perform it.
Oh my God, amazing.
Weird keys. So, I mean, from that point of view, I did see him as an orchestrator and arranger and all that sort of stuff. It was very project-driven, and he would come and he would do something and he would send it off. And I think also a lot of the things, too, that I do is for performance. So I've never missed a deadline because I can't.
Yeah.
If QSO says to me, well, we need this arrangement on such a time, they'll get it.
Yeah.
I've been doing arrangements for Spirit of Christmas in Brisbane for 20 odd years or something. And even though sometimes at that time of year it's a little tight, they might get it the weekend before, they will always get it.
Yeah.
The thing with the video projects, I mean, I've got a lot of them on the go. Over COVID, there are a couple that I did start and I couldn't really finish, literally because of the technology, we didn't have it all worked out yet. I started them too early, I think.
Yeah.
And then also I found that my computer was slow and I couldn't finish it. So, there are a few things like that.
Yeah.
But I think also I have long-term projects and short-term projects. So the music videos I do at the moment, because I can now record at home, I can record most of the stuff and then take them to my engineer who finishes them. Yeah. And it means I can do that without having to go, well, I've got to go and hire musicians and a studio and microphones and cameras and all that sort of stuff we've now got.
It's so different now, isn't it? It's so different. It would make you 100 times more efficient as well. As long as you just learn the technology, you can just...
I mean, I was down in Melbourne last weekend recording Hugh Ponithaurai on the bassoon for a video we're putting out called Hugh's Word of the Day. Oh,
shout out to Hugh Ponithaurai. Hi, Hugh!
Which is basically him playing a little piece I wrote And every now and then he stops and goes, obsequious or something. It's going to be so stupidly surreal. But he played all 6 parts, and I put them together here, and it sounds fantastic.
Oh, amazing.
So, you know, those sort of things, again, it's opportunity. And when you see that opportunity to be able to go, oh, he's got a day free, I've got a day free, I'll whip down there, record him, come back. And, you know, there's a few things like that, which I've sort of, you know, I'm working on, and they are taking a little while to get going. But I mean, I always got one that's nearly ready to go. And I think
right.
You know,
and how much would you say personality plays into the opportunities that you get?
In what way?
In like, you have to get along with people. You can't really be a grumpy bum and expect to get commissions all the time.
Well, I don't. The funny thing is, I don't get a lot of commissions because I'm not really known as a composer. You know,
Does that annoy you? Does that annoy you?
I think most of the organisations that are commissioning aren't commissioning for the type of music I write, so it doesn't really annoy me.
Okay.
I do get a lot of opportunity though. Like, I mean, we've been writing kids' music through our label Spotty Kites. So if you've got kids, you know, to the age of sort of 7 or 8, we've got a huge amount of songs now on iTunes and on YouTube, which are specifically written, and also all of the ones that I did early on or in the middle period. Have real musicians on them. I just said to my mates, I paid them. I said, come and play on this track. I would orchestrate them. Some of them actually are like almost full orchestra because we've just gone. And we've also got some Christmas songs and a few things like that.
Yeah, so, beautiful.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like I am, it comes back to that whole question you asked me before about having a job. I'm very lucky. I mean, the thing is that if I actually had to pay the mortgage, I couldn't really do this.
Yeah.
And I sort of feel sorry for those people who I know a lot of them who would love to be doing this, but don't have the opportunity because of the fact they literally have to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to get to the point where I go, well, that's great. All this work I'm doing now is starting to make some money.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to make money on recordings unless you're a big recording artist now.
Yeah, totally.
No one's buying them. They're all going on Spotify.
That's right.
So you have to think of ways around that of engaging with people. And I think the videos are good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to put myself up as a recording artist at all. But what I can do is do, you know, comedy videos. And I can actually also ask mates of mine to come along and say, hey, do you want to do this one?
Yeah.
You know, I know so many people in the business who can do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And having a job also, it's like... Let me compare it to the idea of a universal basic income, because we're at the stage, I'm assuming that you feel the same way as me, that going to work and playing classical music in a concert is possibly the easiest part of our day sometimes.
Usually, yeah.
And especially if the repertoire is the old repertoire, which is also changing. We have to do a lot of modern stuff as well now. A lot of movies that we've never played before. I love them. Oh, so do I. I'm obsessed with the movies. It's great. And you'd learn a lot from playing film scores and studying film scores, you know.
Just playing the John Williams.
Oh, completely.
I just look at it and I go, I often use that as an example for the kids that I'm talking to in the Compose program. I go and have a look at how John Williams used aleatoric windows or extra note, wrong notes, or all sorts of things.
What a master of mimicry. I mean, he's accused of being a plagiarist, but it's completely absurd. It's not that at all. It's a master of mimicry. It's like any chef needs to, if they're training, they need to know the different nationalities of cooking and the different techniques.
You need to know all the French styles.
Yeah.
You need to know a lot of Italian styles.
Absolutely.
You need to be aware of, you know, stuff in Asia and
the
multitude
of
the world.
Asian styles.
Or
Absolutely.
you're just cooking the same old boring stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So,
or you're making stuff up with no meaning to it whatsoever. It's exactly the same with music. Yeah. And it's not, I don't think people shouldn't be allowed to try their hand at composition, but go through the AMEB like theory books 1 to 4 and then see what else is going to come out of your brain, because you will have then a foundation to compose. That's just my little... Yeah. So look,
and listen.
Yeah.
Listen to everything. These kids that we're working with, we say, what do you listen to? And most of them would probably never have listened to anything by Stravinsky. And that's old.
But that's old now.
It's such an incredible use of language, and Bartok and things like that. It's an amazing use of language. And when you think back then, it was so out there.
Radical.
So,
You know, I heard just I heard my brother Dan play with Peter Ronfeldt and Margaret Connolly.
Yeah.
On this 1830 striker piano that they have at the con, and they played Brahms in that early music style. It was such an interesting thing to hear.
Yeah.
It was so interesting and so different from what we're used to now that I felt like I was listening to new music because I didn't know the piece, but I didn't know the piece either. So it was a completely new experience for me. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, in the Romantic period, they didn't care about old music. They only wanted to listen to the latest compositions. Yeah. And here now we've got classical audiences only wanting to hear the old stuff. Well, that's not true of everybody, but
no. But I think our new music now, because there are so many mediums that have changed, our new music is the movies, and to be quite honest, video games.
Yeah, absolutely.
My husband got me addicted to video games.
Yes.
But the thing is, listening to the music in Zelda. It's phenomenal.
Zelda's divine.
It's incredible use of music. I mean, they're all recorded by symphony orchestras, so it's pretty amazing soundscape anyway. So
it's an amazing soundscape. It doesn't sound like Brahms or Beethoven. It sounds like modern film scores in a way. Yeah. God, it seems like we have so much in common. I love it, except that I am not the creative type. I like to instigate events, and I like to commission composers, and I like to make things happen, but make other people make them happen. That's the only way we differ, actually. Look, I want to thank you so much for being on my channel. You're one of my true inspirations from my childhood, and I just love.
Me feel really old saying
no.
That.
I mean, I know we're not. No, but when I'm a teenager and you're like a couple of years older than me, it's like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. I mean, I feel the same age as you now. I don't know. Yeah. Do you feel young? I feel young.
I do every now and then. Yeah. Depends what we're doing this week. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Look, take care. I'm going to link everything that we've talked about.
Wonderful. Thanks
You're
so
an amazing person, and I hope everything just goes super well for you in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.